guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today we're going to be getting into my March wrap up. This month I read a lot of great books, not a lot of books in total. I'll be real, it was kind of a light reading month for me, which is still 12 books. I don't know why I put this crazy pressure on myself to read I feel like 15 minimum books. I haven't been doing that any month, I don't believe, in 2025. And I think I mentioned it was in a part of my reading goals at the top of the year to not focus on quantity but more on quality, and I'm doing that, but there's this little guilty impulse in the back of my mind that's like, you're not reading enough, there's not enough books for you to talk about for the girlies. So I really hope that you guys don't feel that way, because I do have a lot of great books to share with you, and I did have a really good reading month, but I was reading mostly physical books. I only had one audiobook this month, so it did take me a little bit longer to get through them, but the books that I did read were really, really good. So before we get into the wrap up of every book that I read in March, let's go over my stats real quick. As I mentioned, I read 12 books for a total of 3,450 pages, and here is my mood breakdown. Really standard, dark, mysterious, tense, but we also have funny and emotional, which I don't usually have those at the bigger pieces of the pie, so that is interesting. I had a good mix of pacing. I had 3 books that were fast-paced, 8 books that were medium-paced, and 1 that was slow-paced, and it was a pretty even split. It was actually perfectly even. I read 6 books that were between 300 and 500 pages, and then 6 books that were under 300 pages. I read 1 nonfiction book, and the rest were fiction. And here is my genre breakdown. Thriller and fantasy are at the top, which is kind of wild. I didn't think I read that much fantasy, but apparently I did. We also have a little bit of literary, a little bit of horror, a little bit of self-help, and romance. And over the course of my 12 reviews, I had an average rating of 4.13. So when I tell you guys I had a good reading month, I had a really, really good reading month. I was really, really liking what I was picking up. I think part of that is due to me filming my 5-star prediction vlog. I can usually make 5-star predictions pretty accurately. Even if I don't give them 5 stars, I do usually end up enjoying them at the very least. And then I also had some of my most anticipated books of the year in my new release thriller vlog for this month as well. If you missed either of those reading vlogs, I will link them up above and down below for you. I really loved filming them, and I liked so many of the books from those vlogs this month. But as for my ratings, I did have 1 2-star book, 1 3-star book, and 1 3.5 star, but I had 4 4-stars and 5 5-star books. I cannot remember the last time I had 5 5-stars in 1 month. That's crazy. And then here is the breakdown of how I read those pages throughout the month. As you can see, I took 2 pretty long breaks from reading just because life got super busy. I had stuff going on, I had people in town, etc. The rest of the time I was reading a lot. There was actually one random stretch of a couple days that I read nearly 500 pages a day. I don't know why or how, but I did. So now let me get into the actual wrap up. Okay, we're gonna do it like we always do, starting out with my least favorite book and then working our way up to my 5 5-stars, which it's gonna be really hard to rank them in order, but I'm gonna try. The 1 2-star book that I read in March, unfortunately, was my Pretty Girl book club pick. I'm actually so deeply disappointed about it, but I'm also really looking forward to dragging the fuck out of it in our live show, which is gonna be this Thursday, April 3rd. If you didn't know, I host a thriller book club over on Patreon. It's called the Pretty Girl Book Club, named after my favorite thriller of all time, which is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. And our March pick was Close Your Eyes and Count to 10 by Lisa Unger, so we will be discussing that over there if you want to join us. I'm gonna spoil the entire thing, and we are just gonna have a total dragging session, probably followed by some reading sprints. So I'm looking forward to that, but it was not a good reading experience getting into this book. If you watch the Patreon vlog, then you know I was literally screaming ranting at every update. It was so hard to get through. I would have DNF'd this book if it wasn't my book club pick. The whole premise is this group of people gets brought to do this like Mr. Beast style challenge for this YouTuber where they all are playing this extreme game of hide and seek on a secluded island. It's live streamed, but along the way, people start dying. There's a storm headed for the island, so it quickly becomes a survival scenario. And I thought it was going to be like One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware, where it's a setup for a reality show and you think there's going to be drama, but then something much, much more sinister is going on. There's a survival element. I really liked that book last year, so I was looking forward to similar vibes this year, but with a game element. Y'all know I love a thriller with a game, but for some reason, there was no scenes of the actual game being played. It literally vexes my mind. Why do they always do this with game thrillers? They sell us on the idea that it's going to be this fun, deadly game, and then there's no game, and we're just reading about the vapid character drama between these YouTubers. I get enough YouTuber drama just in my daily life, okay? I don't care about the YouTuber drama of these fake YouTubers playing Fortnite. I literally don't care about the people playing Fortnite. Why was I reading 5-10 pages of people playing Fortnite? Miss Lisa, you do not know about social media. You do not know about the things that you are trying to write about and you are trying to represent. It's why you had the main character of this social media centered book be an old ass woman, so you didn't have to know anything, and yet it still read painfully as if you had no idea what you were writing about. The plot was confused. It was all over the place. It was so boring. It was so hard to get into, and she didn't know what the hell she was talking about. Aren't we past making up fake names for social media? Like, why were they referring to YouTube as We Watch? Girl, we all know you're talking about YouTube. Why was it Photogram instead of Instagram? We know it's Instagram. Like, is it that expensive to get the license to use a trademarked social media name in your book? I can't believe it. I cannot believe that, because it just is cringe and it's bad, and I don't ever want to see this book ever again. So that's why I gave it 2 stars. It was literally insufferable. The 3-star book that I read in March was kind of a disappointment. I started reading this one early in the month and I literally did not get myself to finish it until the 31st. It took a really long time for me to get through this, and I kind of wasn't invested in it at all throughout the course of reading it. That is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. And I'm so disappointed because I was really ready to love this book. Y'all know, if you've seen my past few wrap-ups, that I've been in my cozy fantasy era. I love Legends and Lattes. I love The Spell Shop. I've been really looking for books on that vibe. And this is one that so many people love. So many people recommended me. And I just didn't connect to it. We are basically following this professor, and she goes on a quest to write this encyclopedia all about the hidden knowledge of fairies. Okay, so she's investigating little different fairy communities, brownies, fae, hidden folk, like all these different types of fairies all throughout the land, and she is making the first educational text about their lives, their customs, how their magic works, etc. And our main character is kind of like a socially anxious, introverted, like isolated girly. Okay, she just wants to be by herself with her research and her dog. She does not want to talk to people, and I think that's really endearing. Like, a curmudgeon-y kind of character can be really sweet, but the way that this character was written, it wasn't with any level of self-awareness. Like, I think the main character in The Spell Shop was kind of characterized in a similar way, but she was very aware when she was rejecting other people, and she would kind of have this level of self-reflection throughout where she was like, yeah, okay, I know I'm like sacrificing human connection to do my work, or because it scares me. And I really liked those reflections. Emily Wilde did not have that. Like, she would almost be surprised when people were put off by her, when she rejected connecting with them, or why people like wouldn't want to be friendly back with her when she's never friendly to them. It was just kind of annoying to me that she lacked that awareness and self-reflection. And I did like the fantasy plot. That's why I gave it 3 stars. I would say the thing that I liked most was getting to know the different fairies and following the plot that unfolded with that. She kind of thinks that she's above it all, and she has this most knowledge and she's the most knowledgeable on fairies, but of course the fairies' magic end up getting to her and she gets herself in some sticky situations where she learns to rely on the help of other people. And I did like that plot. But another thing beyond the characterization that kept me from feeling really connected and like I wanted to keep picking up the book was the romance. I did not feel any chemistry at all between the characters that we were supposed to buy as like falling in love. When I first started reading the book, I'm like, surely the romance is gonna get set up with this guy. And I was completely wrong. Like, it was another character and they had zero chemistry together. Like, zero. They felt like quirky besties. It literally felt like a gay man and like a curmudgeon-y kind of like queer girly who were besties. Like, I read 0% romance, 0% like any kind of tension at all between them, and I was kind of icked out by the romance. I'm sorry. It just felt weird. I didn't feel the connection at all. So unfortunately, while I think the plot is solid and the vibes are really springtime cozy fun, I just did not care about the characters. I didn't feel connected to them at all, and I'm really disappointed about it because I really wanted to like it. Maybe it's for you, it wasn't for me. The 3.5 star book that I read this month was Haunt Sweet Home by Sarah Pinsker. And this is a little horror novella. It was a pretty quick read. And it's all about this woman who is kind of down on her luck. She's having her quarter life crisis. And her cousin hosts this paranormal investigation show. And he makes an offhand comment one time. He's like, I can get you a job on set if you want to be like a PA. And she's like, you know what? Fuck it. What do I have to lose? Let me go and be a PA on this dumb little ghost hunting show. And when she shows up to set, she realizes two things. One, they choreograph and orchestrate all of the alleged hauntings and the show is actually completely fake. And two, they're actually encountering a real life ghost, but the ghost will only talk to her and interact with her. And so she's trying to tell everyone, y'all, this house is low-key haunted. And everyone's like, girl, what do you mean? There was like a tripwire and a sound effect. Like, it's not actually haunted. And throughout the course of the book, we are kind of looking at this haunted house as a metaphor for her growing up, her trauma, her family, etc., etc. And I did enjoy this book. I liked the metaphor. I thought the characterization was interesting. I felt kind of invested throughout the whole thing. Not super invested, but I was interested in the story. I think normally I would have given this a 4-star and said like it's just a solid horror novella, but the reason why I docked it a half star was because I think it took way too long to get to the actual horror. I think the last 75, 80 pages were what I really wanted out of the book, and there was just a lot of setup. Like, it felt like 100 pages of setup for a payoff that was less than that, and I think a lot of that could have been cut out. It did tend to feel repetitive when they were doing scene after scene after scene that was kind of the same thing. I could have had this pared down to 100 pages and gotten the same thing out of it. So overall, it's not that long of a book, so it's not that big of a time investment anyways. I still recommend it, but don't be surprised if you feel that draggy feeling in the first 100 pages. Just know after that it does pick up and get good. Next up, let's jump into my 4-star reads from March. Starting out with the one audiobook that I read this month. Everything else I read physically. I've been like addicted to reading physically, but I got this as an ARC and I was so excited to read it. So I just went ahead and listened to the audio for Killer Potential by Hannah Deach. This is a debut thriller that I talked about in my new release thriller vlog. I really enjoyed this one. We are following a queer main character and a little sapphic situationship between two women who are on the run. They both get caught up in the murder of a very wealthy couple. One girl, our main character, is the SAT tutor of the daughter who walked in on the murder scene, and the other girl was kidnapped and tied in the closet. So both of them are clearly bigger suspects for the murder than the rich little daughter of this couple who we think actually did it, unless it was some random stranger who broke in. So they're immediately like, the media is gonna nail us, we've got to get out of here. They go on the run together. There are weird, uncomfortable, sapphic dynamics that go along with that. It is so exciting and fast-paced. It will have you on the edge of your seat the whole time. The twists, particularly at the 50% mark and at the 80% mark, those twists had me gagged. I was obsessed. And the end didn't wrap up exactly how I wanted it to. I think it was a little muddy. It lacked fluency in the last like 10%. But I can definitely forgive that because of the wild ride that this book was, the fun character development, the queer representation, the shocking twists. I absolutely love it, and I'm going to be recommending this one all summer. I cannot wait to see what this author does next, because if this was her debut, I just can't wait for the next one. Another solid 4-star thriller that I read in March was The Really Dead Wives of New Jersey by Astrid Dahl. And I've mentioned this before when I talked about this book. Astrid Dahl is actually a pen name for Anna Dorn. She is writing through the lens of the main character of a previous book of hers, which is Perfume and Pain, which is my favorite book of the year so far. And I loved getting a peek into Astrid's body of work through this thriller. It is basically like, what if the Real Housewives of New Jersey had a murder mystery that was playing out live on camera? It was so campy, it was so over the top, it was so much scandalous drama and fun. There was also really fun sapphic relationships in here, really great bisexual representation, and I was just in for the catty drama of it all. The only thing that held me back from giving this a higher rating, and why I just stuck a solid 4-star on it, was because it was sometimes a little confused between being really earnest and emotional and being like a big campy joke. I think striking that balance is really hard, and I don't know if it was perfectly struck. At every point throughout the book, I was sometimes not really knowing how to feel about our characters because of that tricky balance, but for the most part, this was just stupid and fun. It reminded me of like a drag race acting challenge, and I'm obsessed with it. Another 4-star book that I read in March was Lucky Dogs by Helen Schulman. And this is a book about the Me Too movement. I wish I would have known that going in, because it doesn't say anything about that on the synopsis, but it's basically about 2 women who have been really wronged by society, specifically the entertainment industry, and the wildly different directions that they take in life. And they end up crossing paths in line for ice cream in Paris one day, and they are united by the aggressive way that they respond to their harasser. So they end up creating this relationship, even though they go about fighting the patriarchy in extremely different ways. And we see how their stories entangle and play out. This book is told in 4 different parts, and the tone shifts wildly between them. So I think it was hard for me to really keep my attention for extended periods while I was reading this book. Those drastic tone shifts you really had to adjust to, but I think they're really worthwhile and really interesting. There's really great commentary in here about the Me Too movement, about the Israeli-Palestine conflict, which obviously free Palestine, like duh. There is Palestinian representation in here, which I thought was really interesting. The ending was absolutely shocking and just popped off. Like, I did not see that coming at all. It was ridiculous. It was crazy, but this book was also really, really meaningful. It's definitely more literary than thriller, but if any of this sounds like it's up your alley, check trigger warnings and maybe check it out. And the last 4-star book that I have to chat about is PTSD Radio. This is just volume 1 of this manga by Masaki Nakayama. And this is a series of stories that there's not really a solid connection between them, but it's basically how hair kills you or leads you to death or could be your demise. It's basically The Ring, The Grudge, like hair monster core in a bunch of overlapping stories. And the lore of this book is crazy. Like, apparently this is based on real experiences of the author and artist. It's like a huge thing where the author had to stop writing manga because it was actually destroying their life. And I just really need a documentary on how that happened, because you can tell when you're reading this, like, it is so horrifying, it is so visceral, the visuals are really freaky, but you're also like, what the hell is happening? Like, it's very elusive the whole time. That's why I gave it 4 stars instead of 5, because I was super unsettled by it, but something in me was like, it is just not a clear enough story for me to give it a solid 5-star rating. I still enjoyed it with a 4, but I just need to know the full lore, and I don't think the author gave us enough lore in here. I think the author is going through something major, and that is quite clear. All right, now let's get into my final 5, my top 5 books of March. These were all 5 stars. These are all new favorites. I'm obsessed with all of them. The first book I will get into is The Day at the Door by Laurel Hightower. This is another little horror novella-ish. It's kind of just like a short horror book. It's a little over 200 pages, but it is so genuinely freaky. And if you like previous horror books that I've recommended, like How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, or This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau, or The Return by Rachel Harrison, like things like that where there is a freaky horror metaphor for some deep family trauma, you are going to love The Day at the Door. It's very much along that vein. There's also like the freaky imagery that is present in those 3 books in this one as well. Basically, we are following a family years in the future following the death of their oldest sibling. So there are 2 older boys and then 2 younger sisters, and they were taking care of in this household where the mom was kind of histrionic, unpredictable, unreliable. She had a rotating door of different men, and she would punish the kids pretty harshly. And one day she took the oldest son behind a door and he died. And they don't know what happened. The mother has always claimed that it was an accident, but now, years and years later, she's gotten all of her children together to tell them basically the truth of what happened on the day of the door. But she's only agreeing to do this on camera for a paranormal TV show because she claims their brother was killed by a demon. So we follow the filming of this documentary as the mother is trying to convince them that a demon was there, and all of the different siblings have different reactions to it. And then actual paranormal shit starts happening in the house. Is it just a metaphor for their trauma, or is it something really dark and crazy going on? You will have to read and find out. I just loved everything about this book. I think it was executed perfectly. I think the horror is visceral. I think the characterization is super interesting, and the family dynamics, I could just eat them up. The way that it ended was great. The meaning was great. I was highlighting as I was reading in here, which rarely happens for me and horror, especially when it's like gross and freaky. I never want to stop to break the atmosphere and the tension and pull out my highlighter, but I just had to with this one. I continue to just love Laurel Hightower, so this was an easy 5-star for me. My next 5-star was another one from my 5-star prediction vlog. Yay! I got some of my predictions pretty accurate, and that one is Marrow by Taryn Fisher. This is about a girl who grows up in a rough situation. Yet again, she has a mother who, it's a revolving door of men. She's dealing with agoraphobia and mental illness, and the daughter pretty much becomes self-reliant at the age of like 6. It kind of gave me Matilda vibes, like she was just cooking for herself and getting herself to school, and she was a pretty smart little girl. She was always reading and squirreling food and money away the best that she can, and we follow her over the course of time. That happens in the first like 50 pages, and then from page 40, 50 on, she's an adult woman, and she starts to think that maybe there's more out there for her. And this starts with a budding friendship between her and her neighbor who is in a wheelchair, and she starts to learn about his story, and they develop a little romance, and they also develop these really strong feelings of advocacy for this missing little black girl in their neighborhood that the police just don't seem to care about. And our main character starts having murderous impulses for the mother who would not protect her child. She also has animosity towards the police, towards society, towards men in general who might want to prey on a little girl. And this anger shows up in these uncontrollable murderous impulses. So she's working through her own shit basically by becoming an unhinged murderer. But at the same time, she's like low-key doing this inner healing work and kind of getting her life together. It's a really weird juxtaposition, but she has a very interesting character arc, and this book is just so immersive. It feels so dark, it feels so gritty, it is very triggering, or it has the potential to be, so make sure you look at trigger warnings. But if you can handle a really dark thriller, you're gonna love this. And the twists at the end just set it over the edge. I could not actually believe in my mind the twist that happened at the end. Like, sometimes I'll just be working and typing away and I'll remember the twist at the end of this book and I'll be like, no. Like, I'll be in active denial about it. That's how shocking it was. This is a 5-star thriller if I ever read one. It feels like a classic twisty thriller. 2014, 2015 thrillers, like, we're really not gonna top them. I really would find it hard to top them. Like, this one is so good. Next up, we have Blob by Maggie Sue. And oh my god, y'all, I loved this weird little book. This is another one that I could not stop highlighting. I literally think I highlighted half the book. It is so good. We are following this girl. Again, it's giving quarter life crisis vibes. She, outside of a club one day, finds this blob on the ground, and she's like, what the hell is this blob? And she walks away, and then in the middle of the night, she's struck with this thing of like, I gotta go back and get that blob. Like, I gotta go investigate that blob. Like, what is that blob? So she ends up taking the blob home with her and creating a relationship with it. And things get really weird and uncomfortable, and she uses the blob kind of like as a conduit to project her stuff on, her relational stuff on. She's getting over a breakup and she's trying to process it through projecting on the blob. It gets into relationship and attachment trauma at a really deep level. It's a lot. It is a lot. It is freaky. It is uncomfortable. It's weird, but it is so real. It is deeply visceral, and it reads so easy. Like, this kind of writing style is my favorite kind of writing style, where it is accessible and it has like a really nice flow to it. It's not super heady and hard to wrap your brain around, but it's still very literary. There are points that are very lyrical and very nice to read, and it's also like weird, and it has that like dark factor to it. I just loved it. I just loved everything about Blob. You're gonna be hearing more about Blob from me in the coming months for sure. I'm gonna be recommending this one. Next up, we have my favorite thriller of the year so far. That is officially This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. I said what I said. I said what I said. This book is phenomenal. My favorite documentary of all time is Don't Fuck with Cats. This is like that, okay? It's about how armchair detectives can get wrapped up in their true crime obsession, and how that plays out specifically for a girl who is in the throes of grieving her father while she gets sucked into the true crime community. And not only does she end up getting into solving a pretty major case, but she has some personal implications as well. It really takes a look at people's different motivations for engaging with true crime in like a surface level way, like consuming true crime content, but deeper than that, like getting involved in the true crime community. And Ashley Winstead takes a look at that through real things that have actually played out in real life cases. Of course, she changes different details and things about the cases, so it's not direct commentary on the crimes themselves. but she talks about things that happen in reality in order to represent them in the book, so she can comment on the way that the true crime community has engaged with cases in really varied ways. I was gonna say really bad ways, but sometimes they do uncover really essential information. So it's just about like finding that balance, and I think her commentary on that very tricky balance was so well done. Beyond that, I loved our main character. Her characterization was really relatable. I really felt for her, even as she was like falling off the edge and going into a place that I could never imagine myself going. She was still a very sympathetic character. And then the actual case and the thriller plot within the novel was so engrossing, so twisty, had me on the edge of my seat. I just think Ashley Winstead is killing the game. Like, no one does it like her. I love this book. It was such an easy 5-star. I was just sucked in and could not wait to finish it from the moment I started it. If you haven't seen the vlog, you should really watch it. I think I talked for like 20 minutes just about this book and the commentary of it. I loved it. And my favorite 5-star book of the month was actually the one nonfiction that I read in March, and that is Women Living Deliciously by Florence Given. I freaking loved this book. Okay, as you can see, I tabbed it up. I literally left it on my table and my dog ate it. Like, this book is tattered and abused. I highlighted probably multiple sentences on every page. Like, I'm just absolutely obsessed with this book. It aligns so much with my personal philosophy on like how I want to live my life, but deeper than that, it really aligns with my therapy practice as well and the things that I work on with my clients. If you've ever been curious about how I view mental health, you should really pick up this book because it captures it pretty accurately. There's some like girl bossery in here that I don't necessarily agree with. Sometimes the coarse language is like, okay, do we really need to say the word fuck 18 times in a self-help book? Like, it's giving you just found out what a curse word is. But other than those couple things, like the actual messaging of this book is so strong. This is some self-help that I can stand behind as a mental health professional. I think a lot of self-help skewing books sell you on an idea that comes from no backing. It's just motivational speaker BS with not a lot of cited sources. There's a lot of sources cited in here that I wholeheartedly believe in. I had a full knowledge of every source that she used, and I really think that they were captured accurately. And this book is just about living through feminism in a way that works for you, living in a way that prioritizes a woman's sense of self and development and boundaries so you can live a full and delicious life. I've talked about this with so many of my clients, recommended it to them, they're loving it. I talked about this with my own therapist and she got it and she's loving it. Like, this should be something essential for young women's mental health. If I have a daughter, she's reading this as soon as she turns like 16. Like, I just think it's great. It's also a beautiful book. Like, it's beautifully illustrated. There are these awesome poster little pages every so often in the book. It's so freaking pretty to read. Like, I don't know if I can show this girl's nips on YouTube, but like, it's so pretty. And it's not just bullshit. Like, the actual work is in here. If you sit with this and you take like a month out of your life and you just let this one marinate on your brain, your life will get better. I promise. I promise. So with that, those are all of the 12 books that I read throughout the month of March. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about them and you got a few good recs from this video. Let me know down below if you read any of these books this month and if you agree or disagree with my rating. Thank you guys again so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And of course, don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!